Hi, it's Kirby Sommers. Today is July 12th, 2025. It is Saturday. It's late in the afternoon. Typically, I do my podcast much earlier in the day. But today, I was speaking with somebody and I thought I was going to be on a podcast. So I'm sort of ready, but the podcast did not happen. We're kind of thinking about scheduling it. And so, what I have been working on clearly is trying to explain to everyone uh, the fact that about the document non drop, about the reasons why there is a document non drop, and the information that you're never going to get from mainstream, and frankly, information that I have been compiling for a very, very long time. So I'm going to go over just a portion of what I have been sharing on my Substack. Now, clearly, those of you who are here might be on my Substack. I am thinking that a lot of you are there, so you at least get to read the previews that I allow you guys to read. So here's the thing. There are a lot of different aspects to this, and it is the reason that Donald Trump and his administration, they really can't release any documents. And so I'm just going to say that it would expose not just multiple countries and multiple, let's say, historic scandals, but also it would expose intel assets, such as the woman that we're looking at with the man we really can't name, uh, who basically was presented to him to be paired off in much the same way as Ghislaine. I want you to know that this person that we call J.E. never had a proper girlfriend. So in the essay that I uploaded, I believe, 2 days ago, I show how J.E. was an intel asset, perhaps even, well, very early, but most definitely, there's concrete evidence that I've been able to obtain uh, when he began his first, let's say, corporation after leaving Bear Stearns. This said, I have other information that I have written in my book. I believe it's called. I've written so many books, and I'm going to have to see which book I put it in there. But he, there are the world as we have seen it. Let's say through the eyes of the news media, the mainstream narrative. It's the world that we inhabit is very different than what is presented to us. I think most of you are aware of this. So I'm going to just kind of remind you that Alexander Acosta was the Department of Justice official who gave J.E. the sweetheart plea deal in 2008. And he was quoted as saying that he was told to back off because, quote, he belonged to intelligence. Now, here's the thing. This was all in his emails, and the emails, 11 months of emailing back and forth, Acosta with J.E.'s attorneys. Well, these emails mysteriously disappeared. I'm not sure if you guys know this. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do, is to fill in some gaps, okay? And while I'm filling in some gaps, I'm also going to show you how Eva is not who she pretends to be. And I've got receipts as always. So, let's just talk very quickly about Acosta's email inbox and the data gap, okay? So, this is from a mainstream article, and so I'm just going to read it to you. In conducting its review, OPR indicated it had access to more than 850,000 emails of the 5 prosecutors who were the subject of the review, as well as 6 additional witnesses. But in an appendix to the report, OPR revealed there was an 11-month gap in Acosta's incoming emails that coincided with the time frame of the JE investigation and negotiations over the deal. Remember, he got a non-prosecution agreement. Basically, unprecedented. I'm going to continue with this small little excerpt that I'm reading for you. After investigating the circumstances of the missing emails, which did not affect Acosta's sent email, the OPR determined it was most likely, quote, a technical error that caused these emails not to be preserved. Now, if you notice, every time they're trying to obscure something, they call it a technical error. We've heard about the technical error of the cameras not functioning that day. And frankly, I believe it was today or yesterday, it was revealed that the tape, the video that was released by the Department of Justice is in fact patched together. So even that is not transparent. It's fake. Okay, I want to show you what Eva Anderson looked like when she was a child. And side by side to what she looked like as an adult. So there's Eva Anderson at the age of 14, and that is her as an adult. And I am going to look at your comments, and thank you for joining me on this short notice podcast. And I'm curious to hear from you guys if you think there's a lot of resemblance. I mean, she's had some plastic surgery. I mean, that's clear. Her nose was done. You know, she's had some work, clearly. However, the way that I was able to obtain that was because years ago, I've been researching this for a long time. And years ago, I made a discovery. And, I have been trying to share my discoveries on my Substack, on my Patreon. And here I'm very limited. Okay, I'm very limited. However, I'm going to do as much as I can. Again, this is not the friendliest platform. I think all of you know, or those of you who know me a while, I think you know that I lost my account when Elon Musk took over, 2022, 2023, in November of that year. And I have been, very censored. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I am a survivor of this network. I have had 3 attempts on my life, and it has been my mission for the last 2 decades or more to find the truth. Now, what I want to do is, before I go, Eva basically shows up in part 1 of the article that I uploaded, and I'll put a link below, where basically I start, the reasons why and who's afraid of JE. And I say, well, it's Donald Trump, except that I go into it has more to do with other things. Now, they cannot call it for security reasons, right? For like they can't do that, because then they would be like, if they were to cite that this is sensitive information because it has to do with intelligence, then what they would be doing essentially is letting you know that he really was intelligence, where basically now they're trying to backpedal. And they're trying to backpedal because there would be a lot of very well-known historic scandals that would be exposed. And like I said when I began this podcast, and intelligence assets. However, when JE left Bear Stearns, he moved into an apartment building. And by the time he went, and it was not a move, let's say, that a random, like you and I, if we're looking for an apartment, we're going to look for an apartment and we're going to find something that suits us. No, because of the context that a specific apartment led me to, it led me to Eva, number one. So she was part of the equation back in 1980. Um, and she had been part of the equation even before that. Again, I have always said he walked into a pre-existing world, and it's not just, let's say, one intelligence agency; it's several. However, I'm just going to kind of dive into just a small portion of this because I've got the Bank of Credit and Commerce, I've got the Iran Contra affair, I've got Watergate. It's all connected to JE. Um, I've got other countries connected to JE. Remember, Robert Maxwell was not just Israel's super spy, although that's how he's remembered. He was also working for Russia. All right. He was working for the UK. I've got documentation on him working for the UK and the UK subsidizing him. So when I hear indie media say, oh, it's Mossad, 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 I don't know if it's an intentional distraction for the public, but it's not. And by the way, when he got that apartment, that he sort of began his, let's say, independent career, it also connected to Leon Black. So, like, all of the connections were already there. So that apartment that he got could not have been obtained, let's say, the way you and I would go around getting an apartment, because those people, as you will see if you read part one, um, it leads to everything. It even leads to Donald Trump. It's just an amazing thing, and it's not a coincidence. All right. I mean, I don't believe in coincidences, and I don't think you guys believe in coincidences at this point. Um, so let's do the truth about Eva, the 1972 Munich Olympics. How the intel agency in the United States, starting with the letter C, set Eva up with JE, and then Ehud Barak makes an appearance too. I mean, again, not coincidences. The one thing that I have a very big interest in, that I talk about repeatedly, is MK Ultra. And now MK Ultra has been used against us in the form of terrorism. And I'm going to be talking about the Munich Olympics. That was a form of terrorism. And so, whether or not that was like an event to terrify the public, I don't know for sure, right? Because who's going to tell me that it was an event? But Eva Dubin was there before she was Dubin. She was Anderson, and she's lied about her age, and she's lied about many, many things. And again, the fake boyfriend, girlfriend, they were never there. She was placed in his life as cover for his activities. So she was Galen before there was a Galen. So much of her background has been concealed and at times outright manufactured. So most people who have been following this case know that Virginia Roberts Giuffre tweeted multiple times that JE had purchased Eva's medical degree. She also shared that the Dubins were, quote, her tester couple, and that they groomed their eldest daughter, Selena, who, by the way, just got married. Married an interesting man. Do a search. Interesting man, a lot of dollars, let's say, and in a very interesting field. She is still working at Mount Sinai, as her mother did before her. So, yeah, I mean, Eva certainly was married up. We know that JE said this in the interview that he gave Vicky Ward in 2002, that he, quote, marries up his girlfriend. Now, the way it's done is, if we look at the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund, I thought the max was 5 million. But then I discovered to my shock and surprise, that one of the procurers received 7.5 million from just the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund. And that didn't count the money from, let's say, the JP Morgan settlement or the other settlements. So that the reason that they're given wealthy husbands in the way that, let's say, Eva Anderson was given, and he, by the way, Glenn worked for my abuser's father, and he drove a taxi, and his father, as I said, worked for my abuser's father. My abuser was sent after World War II to Ohio, where he was placed inside the university, Ohio State University. Who would go to Ohio State University? Leslie Wexner would go to Ohio State University. They became retailers. Retailers move around different countries. Rickless sold Wexner 800 learner shops. However, Glenn was selected. These people are selected and become multi-generational, let's just call this, assets. So that photo that shows a young and very homely looking Eva Anderson was taken in 1972 at the Munich Olympics. And it's from a Swedish newspaper, which shows her date of birth as June 30th, 1957, which makes her 4 years older than what we've been told. So all mainstream media accounts of her, Wikipedia included, show her birth year as 1961. And it wasn't. So that when she was, let's say, when she started hanging out with J.E., she was supposed to be 20, but she was in reality already nearing her mid-20s. And the 1972 Munich Olympics, for those of you who may not know, and here's another photo of the make-believe pair, and here's the clip that I found in an old newspaper from Sweden. She represented Sweden in the swimming competition at Munich in 1972. So she's not exactly who she has pretended to be. Now, what happened at the Munich Olympics, and I'm trying to get this to come up on my screen, and for some reason it's giving me a hard time. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to delete one thing, is remove from the studio, so that I can move this to the stage. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys know historically that in 1972, I believe it was 11 Israeli athletes were taken hostage and unalived. Well, this happened while Eva Anderson was there. It was a terrorist attack, and it was televised even in the United States. She was representing Sweden, again, in the Olympics. Now, you would think that somebody, if I was in the Olympics, any Olympics, if you were in the Olympics, any Olympics, this would be part of your biography. However, because she lied about her age, and it's not just because she's lied about her age, what I am trying to tell you is that she is as much of an asset, maybe not as important, but clearly as much as an asset as Glenn, if not more so. And so that she was there for a reason. So again, the terrorist attack left 11 Israeli Olympic athletes dead, and this is like the site of one of Israel's most historic moments. So the Munich massacre was a terrorist attack carried out during the 1972 Olympics in Munich in West Germany by 8 members of the Palestinian militant organization Black September, who infiltrated the Olympic Village, unaliving 2 members of the Israeli Olympic team and taking the other 9 hostages. Okay, so this basically started a lot of um, a lot of things. I mean, so like after the hostages were taken, one of the men who was part of this operation demanded the release of 234 Palestinian prisoners who were being held in Israeli jails, and a West German imprisoned founder of the Red Army faction, Andrea Bader, and another man by the name of Ulrich Meinhof. Now, the West German police ambushed the terrorists and killed 5 of the 8. Um, the whole thing was really, um, again, it was this was perhaps one of the first terrorist attacks that was on everybody's television set, no matter where you were. And what ended up happening was that the Prime Minister of Israel, Golda Meir at the time, gave free rein to the Mossad, which we know is the Israeli secret police, to track down and unalive the Palestinian terrorists. Now, the person they put in charge of this operation is none other than Ehud Barak. We know Ehud Barak. He's seen there with his face covered and a bodyguard entering JE's house. And so we have the coincidence that back in 1972, we have a terrorist attack that involves Ehud Barak, and I'll tell you in a minute what Ehud Barak was doing at that time. And we have Eva Anderson, who didn't look at all like Eva Anderson, and who was given a wealthy husband who had been a taxi driver and whose father worked for my abuser's father. Okay, well, let me tell you what Ehud Barak did during this time. Um, Golda Meir basically put him in charge, you know. And here's what I want to make clear. When I was reporting on Virginia's unexpected unalivement, and we don't know if it was by stealth, to be frank, to be honest, I the more I delve into stuff, the more I realize, well, nothing is as it seems. You know, the brother found the door locked. It's not the first locked door that I have discovered has been uh, somebody who was unalived by another person. Okay, and I've mentioned on this platform other instances. And so, what I heard during that time was, well, why would they wait so long if it was other people responsible, let's say, for us not having Virginia? Why would they wait so long? So my sharing what happened and Ehud Barak's role perhaps will shed some light on the fact that they will wait for years and they will track the people they want unalived for years. I'm a very good example. I receive threats to present day. All kinds of things happen to me that I'm not going to get into right now. However, Ehud Barak was put in charge of something called the Wrath of God operation. And so in April of 1973, the future Israeli prime minister dressed in drag and carrying grenades in his bra, he led three teams of the special forces into Beirut under the cover of darkness. So, after coming ashore in inflatable rafts, the commandos pulled off three unalivements in three different apartment buildings, and then they returned to their getaway speedboat. They did this under 30 minutes. So 3 months later in Norway, the future Olympic city of Lillehammer, the Mossad committed a mistake. Sometimes the unalivements go as planned, and sometimes they make a mistake. And in this case, Ehud Barak, his team, two of his agents mistook a Moroccan immigrant waiter for one of the Palestinians, and he shot him down in the street while his wife, who was carrying a child, pregnant with child, looked on. And so that disaster suspended the Wrath of God operation for 5 years. But however, they then resumed the operation. Now here's the thing. Not one person ever stood trial for the 1972 Olympic massacre. There's only one person who was not caught, and his name is Jamal al-Gashay. And he wasn't caught. He remains in hiding. However, he's always been very afraid, clearly, that they're going to find him and unalive him. So again, how does this, let's say, intersect with Donald Trump's administration to refuse to release any more JE documents? This is just a tiny sliver of so much that I've been able to compile over the years, because I began working on this full time when he was arrested July 6th, 2019. So nonstop, every single day. So if we begin to pull at the JE threads, it will reveal, just as I said, not just the surface level information presented by the mainstream media, right? Because they call it the island, the island, the island, or they'll just talk about the abuse, or they'll talk about him as a lone PDF, right? I mean, who ran a quote possible blackmail ring. But unraveling this, as you have probably noticed by now, it would unravel a nest of spies and scandals so big that the ramifications would be like, it would be like a domino effect throughout multiple countries. So, moreover, like an operative like Eva, who I don't know, maybe she's retired, maybe she's not. Once an operative, always an operative. She appeared at Glenn Maxwell's trial, and she was his so-called girlfriend, would also be outed. Okay, so this is just a preview of a lot of the stuff, that I have been sharing with my subscribers on Substack. I am curious to hear what you guys have to say about the reality of Eva, the fact that she's never talked about her life as an Olympic swimmer, the fact that she's never talked about being at the Munich massacre in 1972. The fact that this was a fake relationship, the fact that Ehud Barak was part of that whole operation, and he continues to be part of the JE circle. And this is one of the terrorists. Again, terrorism. So we have to look at terrorism and wonder, well, what's real, what's not? I mean, we saw terrorism in New York City, on that horrible September day of 2001. I can't even say that here, because we don't have what we think we have, which is free speech. We really just don't have it. It's run by the government. And again, if you have been following my articles, you will know that it's been part of everything from even the beginning of the silent movie era. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. And if you have any questions, Frank O'Brien, thank you, Kirby, for exposing the truth. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jacqueline Bryant. There was a terror attack that failed in Norway, Lillehammer, in 1994. I live in Norway. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of these terror attacks are to scare people. Grace Kirk, hey, thanks for joining the live. I'm so glad that I'm finally catching a live stream. Love your videos, Kirby. I have learned so much from you. It's all mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling, Grace. Imagine what I go through when I'm finding all of these threads and all of this information that clearly it's not being shared by anyone else. So let's see. Kevin says he also said it would be easier to get converts from the right than from the place I call the fake left today. We do have a fake left, clearly. I mean, look, if mainstream was infiltrated from the very beginning and they were working collaboratively, which we know from the church committee hearings, from the very beginning, we had in New York, we had the CBS television station, the NBC television station, the the other one, the Channel 7, ABC, NBC, CBS, they were all working collaboratively, but so were the newspapers, and if you don't work with them, and if they cannot control you, you are no one. No one listens to your work. If they identify certain words, and they've been doing this for the very longest time. So if you remember, when we had that C incident, we couldn't talk about it. We couldn't talk about the person whose name is Fauci. We couldn't talk about that. There's certain things that are off limits because okay, I want to just address this. Joy, not everyone is a male. What I like to stick to are facts, and not say that every person who we see that's a female is a male. Eva is a woman. She's given birth to 3 children, and I'm not here to say that she's a male. I'm here to say that she's lied about critical aspects of her life uh, to hide a much deeper thing that would be that she's part of the intelligence apparatus. Okay. So let's see if I'm looking over your commentary. So LG, yes, Kevin, the gaslighting is so real. Nothing here. Yeah, here. Doesn't she look complete? I'm going to put that photograph back up. She's 14 years old in that photograph. 14. We've seen photographs of Virginia at 14. She doesn't, she's had cosmetic surgery, and then she was paired off with JE, and I show that specifically how it was done in part 1 of my series. Now I did this as a bonus today. I just wanted to share like extra stuff, like details that I normally wouldn't like be writing about, but I had written about this before. And I just feel that the more I share, Margaret Walter, how many faces did this Eva have? Apparently many, because then she goes on to marry Glenn Dubin after he is made a billionaire. He wasn't a billionaire from the beginning, and then this happens, right? She has a lot of faces. She has a lot of faces. So let me just see if there's anything here. Now, if you guys have a question, because I'm not going to make this a long one, just please add them now so that I can address them before yeah, okay, so this is Frank O'Brien, false flags is how they roll. Yeah. And it's how they keep us terrorized. So, is there MK Ultra in, let's say, the news that we've watched and the newspapers that we read before there was even online? Yes. Is there online terrorism now? Yes. Is it called mind control? Yes. Because if you're terrified, what are you going to do? You're going to let the government, your daddy, right? You're going to let your government, wherever you are, protect you. But instead of protecting you, it becomes what it's become now. We have no voice and we live in a police state. Everything we say is monitored. Everything we do is monitored. Let me see if you guys have anything else. I am. Nectaria Greek Lady. That's really a very nice name. Everything I learned was from Sean and you. I found you years ago and I still follow you. You do great work. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. Um, I'm at it every day. I mean, I started this to try to find out why somebody wanted me unalived, and then I discovered, oh, I live in a nest of spies, um, and that's what we have. So let's see if I've missed anything here, any of these things. So here's the thing. I mean, he's been a long time operative. Uh, People, let's say, like, there are some people, I'm not going to name them because I don't want to, like, but some people come out and say, oh, he was only doing the island thing, and then they specify the island and they focus on Prince Andrew for 20 years. No, he was a lifelong asset, and he was doing it full time from 1981 until he was unalived in 2019. So that is close to 40 years. And I have other evidence that I show again on my Substack. Listen, guys, if you haven't joined my Substack, I urge you to do so. I don't have to be so careful, I don't have to tiptoe so much. Look, the other side becomes members of my Substack. They buy my books to see what I have to say. Like, I'll add this, that in 2008, when he was going into his like day jail, JE, I used to keep I used to keep a blog, and I used to try to keep a lot of things online to keep myself safe because there had already been attempts on my life, and I wanted it. I thought we lived in a normal world. I thought at that time that the police were there for us, that the court system was there for us, that if I was found unalive, that there would be an investigation and it would lead back to my abuser. But I was wrong. However, because of the tons of information that I uploaded to the internet in an effort to stay breathing, I was contacted by a high level CIA official. So his excuse for contacting me was that his father had just passed away and that he had some bonds that belonging to one of the companies that the Rickless family owned, and he wanted to know if these were real or not. But by that time, just like Rose McGowan, I'd had so many fake people inserted into my life that I didn't care that he was like, he had introduced himself via email and all of that. So I basically said to him, well, I'm only going to, and I really believed he was asking me a serious question, but that was just an opening question so that he can, insert himself into my life. So I said to him, well, if you are who you say you are, I'm going to call the White House. And if they patch me through to you, then I'll talk to you. Well, I did that. I call the White House. The basic number, I think, and I almost think I can remember the numbers being at the time, the last four numbers to the main switch was 1441. For some reason, I remember the fours and the ones. And I was patched through to this guy. And at the time, I Googled him as well, not knowing that Google would one day prove to be futile. And by the way, it was started with a grant from DARPA, okay? Everything was started with a grant from DARPA. They have been watching us from the very beginning. Nothing has been without their interference. So he then became buddy buddy with me and talking to me many, many times. And then one day, from out of nowhere, he drops this on me. Do you know if Ira and his father, Meshulam, were spies? Now, that caught me by surprise in 2008 because I didn't know about the role of CIA. I didn't know about the role of Mossad. I didn't know about Jeffrey at all at that time. And it only later did I discover, oh, wait a minute, So, yeah, I mean, the Trump administration has to not say anything and not release anything because it would upset too much of what we have seen and what we have been told by mainstream. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you is, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm not going to name specific names, but I'm going to say that I will be dropping those names. So when Sharon Tate was unalived with, through the Charles Manson followers and all of that, Roman Polanski, all of that. Well, there was a video that was taken by the police when they went in to investigate. Hold on, I need some water. To investigate the scene. They found this video of Sharon being filmed by Polanski, being R-worded by two famous Hollywood actors. Okay, the police confiscated that. The police gave it back to Roman Polanski. However, the two famous Hollywood actors, whose names I'm going to be dropping again on my Substack or my Patreon, one of the two, each paid at the time, this was 1969, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, it could be 68, but I think it was 69. They each paid $30,000 to just get the video back of R-wording Sharon. I have proof of this. So what happens with these videotapes that, let's say, that are within, let's say, reach of Donald Trump is that they're sold. People get blackmailed. That's, who's to say that someone who has access to this material, because that's what Pam Bondi said, oh, tons of images, tons of videos. Even at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, we saw photographs of videos. The people in those photos and in those videos pay a lot of money. If they paid $60,000 combined to get one film back in 1969, can you imagine what they pay now? And if the victims got as much as 7.5 from the JE compensation fund, what do you think those videos go for? 20 million? I would think that's a mild educated guess that people are collecting money left and right. That aside, okay, there's just a lot of stuff that if you start pulling at these threads, it's going to upset a lot of stuff, so it'll reveal her role, it'll reveal that, it'll reveal, is this true, is it not true? it'll go into. Virginia said that she was told to do something with Ehud Barak. Of course, he has denied it. But so many people, that's all they've done is to deny, deny, deny. And so, that said, I'm going to take one last look at you guys, see if there's anything here. Okay, so let's see. Retro Roman Doomsday and Simulation Channel, High Risk Billionaire Boy Club. Here's the thing. Hillary Clinton was running against Donald Trump in 2016. So it's not just the Billionaire Boy Club. There's a lot of women. We're seeing right now a photograph of a woman. I think we have to stop labeling it. Is it a boy club? Probably more boys, yeah, but there's some women too. Galen is a woman. The intelligence agencies love to use women because they are trusted more easily by almost everyone, okay? However, Hillary Clinton, according to Michael Wolff, posed a problem, and there was dirt that could have been revealed by J.E. on Hillary Clinton. No, according to Mark Epstein. According to Mark Epstein, J.E.'s brother, there was dirt that could have been leaked by J.E. on Hillary, not her husband, because he was no longer running, on him and on Donald. Okay? So it's not just the Billionaires Boys Club. It's women too, high-level women. So this said, oh, I want to say hello to Amaya. Hi, Amaya. Thank you, Kirby. Thank you for your support, Amaya. I love that you're a member of my Substack and that you show up here on my live stream. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys. Well, look, you know what? I think almost... Hi, Vita. I love also your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that a lot of them are limited hangouts. I mean, I don't think we're going to... Are you going to get something like this on any of those channels? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. That said, hey, I do what I do. It's really hard. Every time I step out of my apartment, it's like, a swivel head. I'm looking around. I'm trying to make sure I'm safe. I'm dodging in and out of stores. It's kind of like a little bit crazy. I have to be careful. I was walking down the street some years ago and I was shot at. Literally, the bullet is still embedded into the side of a building. I took a photograph of that. Perhaps I'll share it with you one day. Well, listen, guys, thank you for joining me again on such short notice. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, please feel free to leave your comments. I will try to take a look at them. And don't forget, guys, please like the podcast. Please share. Please subscribe. And enjoy your weekend. All right, guys. Bye-bye.